Suluhu Hassan winds up her 3-day state visit in Zambia with signing of 8 cooperation agreements. A delegation of Australian investors visits Tanzania to look for opportunities in industrial, energy and minerals sector. And in sports news, football fans commend Simba's performance in the African Football League despite being knocked out of the quarter-finals. A very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Carlos Banda. First, the national news. The President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, has ended her 3-day official visit in Zambia today by witnessing signing of the 8 cooperation agreements between the two countries in the areas of science and technology, innovation, health services, construction of gas pipeline, investment, as well as military training.
All of that collapsed into the 3 days of your visit here, retracing our history, where we are coming from, the two countries, what we've done with each other, the leaders before us, what they were able to do to pave the way for us two leaders and our two governments and two peoples to do what we're doing now. Liberation struggles of this region, we were together, of course, the Tazama, and many things we've been saying already. I won't waste time, but simply to say the two of us are satisfied with what we've done in the last couple of days.
During our discussion, we noted with satisfaction deliberate efforts undertaken by our two governments to strengthen the long-standing and excellent relation between our two countries, Tanzania and Zambia. And in that regard, we reaffirm our personal commitment and that of our two governments to ensure that we continue cherishing and enhancing the existing bonds of friendship and partnership built on a solid foundation led by our founding fathers, the Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, the JKs and the KK.
On her final day of her visit, President Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan also addressed the National Assembly of Zambia.
The relations between our two countries was solidified by the late Mwalimu Julius Nyerere and Mwazi Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, our founding fathers. Their closeness made us understand the close ties we share with the Zambian people. In Tanzania, we adore President Kaunda. So much so that we got carried away with his style and attire, which left a lasting impression in the form of Kaunda suit. Today, the Kaunda suit is an official dress in Tanzania and recognized as so even by our parliament. To us, the style and attire mean many things. It conveyed pride in our freedom, it spoke to our working class roots and our ties to the soil, and it spoke to our solidarity in managing our affairs.
The operation against red locust invasions in villages in Mtera Ward, Mpwapwa District, Dodoma region has continued, with residents commending the government for action taken to get rid of the pests.
Tunafurahia sana kwa kazi mnayoifanya, maana nzige wakawa wanatusumbua. Kwa sasa wakawa wanatusumbua sana kwenye mazao, ila kwa sasa kwa jinsi wanavyowatengeneza hapa wanauao, bila shaka mwakani tutakuwa ni vizuri.
Tumepiga takribani ekari 21 kwa leo, na tunaiomba ofisi ya mamlaka ya afya ya mimea iendelee kutuunga mkono.
Tumeanza asubuhi sana saa 11 na zoezi linaendelea hadi sasa ndio tunamalizia. Kazi ni nzuri, tumeweza kupulizia eneo kubwa na Tuna matarajia kwamba tutaendelea kupunguza kadiri siku zinavyokwenda, na matokeo ni mazuri.
The Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Energy, Dr. Doto Biteko, has said that the government has decided to allocate a lot of funds to research activities so as to get correct information, to correctly inform information for investors looking for investment opportunities in the mineral sector. Dr. Biteko made the statement in Dar es Salaam when opening the 5th International Investment Forum in the mineral sector.
Upatikanaji wa taarifa hizo utasaidia si tu wawekezaji bali serikali kubainisha viashiria vya uwepo wa madini kwenye miamba na maeneo mbalimbali na kuwezesha kufanya utafiti wa kina wa madini ya aina mbalimbali hapa nchini. Hatua hii italenga kuwarahisishia watafiti na wawekezaji kujikita kwenye maeneo yatakayokuwa na taarifa zaidi kuliko kubahatisha kwenye maeneo ambayo hayana taarifa.
I am a fond and a good practitioner of open door policy. I therefore welcome you all to take this advantage and cooperate with our country under the steadfast leadership of Our Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan in preparing the growth of this sector.
Currently in Malawi, mining contributes 1% to the GDP. However, the sector has huge potential to contribute to the development of the country. The sector's annual growth trajectory is pegged at 10% to 15% when all the quick win mining projects become operational. Right now we have several projects that are coming in the pipeline.
The government has directed the MST Idofi Gloves factory in Makambako, Njombe region to start production activities by January next year. The directive was given by the Minister of Health, Umi Mwalimu, after inspecting the factory owned by Medical Stores Department MSD worth 11 billion shillings.
Tunataka tukifungue kabla ya uchaguzi wa serikali za mitaa 2024. Kwa hiyo mimi niwaombe na kuwaelekeza MSD tusimamie haya mambo madogo madogo, kizalishe haraka, tuokoe fedha za kigeni.
Pengine tunaangalia kwenye quotation na zile marupurufu yale tulikuwa na hapa ni 82%, 82% kwa tunazalisha. Pengine future kwenye mizira kiwa kuongeza 7%.
The President of Zanzibar and Chairman of the Revolutionary Council, Dr. Hussein Ali Mwinyi, has exempted traders and entrepreneurs from paying taxes for 3 months at the new tax center built in South Unguja to show his appreciation as taxpayers during his 3 years as President of the Azores.
Wafanyabiashara watakaokuja hapa basi ninaagiza, na hili ninaagiza kwa sababu pesa nimetoa mie hapa. Ninaagiza kwamba wafanya biashara watakaoanza kufanya biashara sasa hivi hapa tuwape miezi mitatu wasilipe, miezi mitatu ya kwanza. Walipe kuanzia mwezi wa 4. Walipe kuanzia mwezi wa 4. Miezi mitatu ya kwanza zawadi yangu maalum kwao. Vya kila mjasiriamali apate kitambulisho ili hata kodi anayoilipa isiwe ile tunaowapangia za kila siku zile. Maana kuna maeneo mengi halmashauri wanakuja na kuambia kwa siku shilingi fulani hapa. Kasema hapana, tuwape vitambulisho, tuwachaji kwa mwaka bei nafuu.
Residents of Katavi have been called on to look for opportunities and invest in various sectors such as tourism, agriculture and minerals in order to increase economic growth in the region. The call was made by the Regional Commissioner of Katavi, Mwanamvua Mrindoko, while opening the Katavi Fair.
Tumia vizuri kujielimisha kuhusu kilimo, mifugo, ufugaji wa nyuki, ufugaji wa samaki, madini, ujasiriamali, viwanda, biashara na kadhalika. Kilimo kikubwa, kwa mfano tuna mabanda pale yanayoonyesha kilimo cha tumbaku, kilimo cha pamba na kilimo cha mazao mchanganyiko.
Nimeshuhudia kwa upande wa sekta ya kilimo katika mkoa huu wa Katavi pia ni moja ya kitu tunafanya vizuri sana. Na upande wa sekta ya kilimo mabanda yako mengi sana. Na naamini kwamba kupitia wiki hii ya Katavi tutaweza kupata elimu kubwa zaidi ambayo tutaweza kunufaisha kipindi cha kilimo ambacho kinakwenda kuanza.
And now for a special report from Germany. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has talked up debate around migration by saying Germany must deport illegal migrants on a grand scale. Proposals are now being discussed in order to decide how this could happen in practice. German politicians have said the country is at a limit of its capacity because of the high number of arrivals. Thomas Bauer, a political correspondent for our partner station DW in Berlin, has more on this. Thomas, how does Scholz plan to carry out these deportations?
The overall goal of the German government is, on the one hand, to reduce the number of migrants that are arriving in the country irregularly, in other words, that do not have the right to stay, and at the same time increase the number of migrants that are arriving in the country that are high-skilled and can fill a gap in a number of professions where there are problems in this area. Specifically on the first issue, namely making sure that fewer irregular migrants arrive, the German Chancellor stressed that there will be a series of measures both at a national level and at the EU level. This is particularly important because Germany cannot resolve the issue of migration on its own. At a national level, the German Chancellor has already implemented some measures, including stricter border controls at Germany's borders with other European countries. But at the EU level, the main issue, and by the way, an issue that has already been discussed for many years, still remains unresolved completely, namely the fair distribution of migrants throughout the different European countries. This is still a very big issue here in Europe.
How big is the problem of migration in the country?
It is a big problem here in Germany, and already the numbers of arrivals are being compared to the height of Germany's refugee crisis in 2015 and 2016. Only in the month of September, over 20,000 migrants, irregular migrants, came to Germany. That's the highest number since February 2016, and already high-ranking German officials, including the German president, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who's the head of state, have said that Germany has reached its limit, the limits of its capacity when it comes to receiving and welcoming these migrants and also integrating these migrants into Germany's society. This is something that, by the way, you also see in cities and municipalities that have been complaining also for weeks and months that they need more help from the federal government. So it is indeed a very big problem, and one that probably prompted Chancellor Scholz to say this statement that Germany now has to start deporting irregular migrants or illegal migrants on a large scale.
And so far, how are Germans reacting to these latest proposals?
On the issue of migration, and specifically when it comes to the reaction by the German government, Germans are very critical indeed. A majority of Germans, according to a recent nationwide poll, stressed that migrants bring more disadvantages than advantages to Germany and that the numbers should be reduced. And they're also very critical when it comes to the way the government has been dealing with this issue, when it comes not only to the arrival and reception of refugees, but also when it comes to issues that are more long-term, like the integration of refugees, and specifically also when it comes to deporting illegal or irregular refugees. So this has also increased pressure on the German government to act more on these issues.
And Thomas, meanwhile, the Chancellor has announced a trip to 2 African countries. Can you give us the details about this trip?
All this comes actually at a time when German Chancellor Scholz is expected to travel to West Africa for 3 days, starting next Sunday. He's expected to visit Abuja and Lagos in Nigeria, and then Accra in Ghana. And Scholz will travel with a high-ranking business and cultural delegation, which gives you an idea of the trip's priorities. Scholz, the Chancellor, is expected to hold talks with the Nigerian president, the Ghanaian president, and the chairman of the ECOWAS Commission. Now, German officials said strengthening ties with African nations is indeed a high priority for the German government, especially at a time of security and economic challenges. And according to the German government, the most important topics of the trip are regional security and cooperation on topics such as economic development or climate change.
Thank you, Thomas, for sharing that insight. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the national news for tonight. We'll take a short break and return for business stories. Welcome back, and now business news. Tanzania Investment Center TIC has received a delegation of 24 entrepreneurs and investors from Australia looking for investment opportunities in the education, oil, industrial and mineral sectors due to the prevailing peace and stability in the country.
Kwamba mikutano hii na mijadala hii inafanyika vizuri na taarifa zote muhimu zinazohusiana na mazingira ya uwekezaji nchini zinapatikana kwa wale wawekezaji wetu wa ndani, lakini hata na wa nje ambao wako mahali hapa.
Iramba district in Singida region during the 2023-24 farming season plans to increase production of free-range chickens by building a training center that will be used to empower poultry keepers in the district.
Ufugaji wetu ule wa kiasili umepungua na kuku wetu wale wa kiasili wameendelea kupungua. Kituo kile kiwe na uwezo sio tu wa kuja siku moja mwananchi anakuja kuona, bali uwezo wa kuchukua wakulima angalau 50 wakaweza kulala pale angalau kwa wiki moja, wakiwa kila asubuhi wanajifunza practically.
Kwa maana hii leo hii Mheshimiwa Mkuu wa Wilaya, ni siku yako ambayo wadau wengi wametikia wito. Kuna wadau zaidi ya 23 ambao umesema mwenyewe utaongea nao jioni, na una wakulima.
The governments of Tanzania and Austria have entered into an agreement to strengthen cooperation in tourism, trade, investment and education. The agreements were made in Dar es Salaam during a meeting between the Minister of Natural Resources and Tourism, Angela Kairuki, and the Minister of Labour and Economy from Austria, Professor Martin Korscher.
Leo tumepata bahati ya kukutana na delegation kutoka Austria. Austria ni nchi ambayo ina nafasi kubwa sana katika maendeleo ya utalii. Austria ni nchi ya watu milioni 8, lakini kwa mwaka wanaingiza watalii milioni 35. Kwa hiyo jukwaa la leo limetupa nafasi ya kubadilishana uzoefu, lakini pia wao wana interest kubwa ya kuja kuinvest Tanzania hasa kwenye sekta ya utalii. Kwa hiyo tumeongea mambo mengi na tutaendelea kufanya nao mawasiliano hasa katika sekta ya utangazaji wa utalii.
Austria and Tanzania shares long-standing and excellent bilateral relations. I'm very happy to be here and we had a very constructive meeting talking about the potentials that we have to unlock and the opportunities between the two countries. There are lots of opportunities. I have a business delegation with me with more than 20 companies. Some of them are active in Tanzania in different sectors, in infrastructure, in food processing, but also in vocational education and training. Some of them are interested to be more active here.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the business news for tonight. We'll take a short break and return for sports news. Glad to have you back, and now sports news. Football fans have expressed satisfaction on the performance of Simba Sports Club in the African Football League despite being knocked out of the quarterfinals by Al Ahly of Egypt.
Tunashiriki. Kama unavyofahamu, Al Ahly wakifika taifa hawajawahi kupata sare. Lakini mwaka huu wamepata kwa sababu bahati bado ilikuwa upande wao. Lakini laiti kama tungepata ushindi hapa maana yake mechi ingekuwa tumeimaliza. Isipokuwa kutokana na bahati ilikuwa upande wao, hapa sare wamepata sare.
Kwa hiyo hana uwezo wa kusonga mbele zaidi ya robo. Sasa wasubiri Yanga, Dar es Salaam Yanga Africa, atatoka hapa alipo, atafika finali. Na klabu bingwa safari Yanga anaenda finali. Amini usiamini.
Excellent optimism. The World Baseball Softball Confederation and the Association of the Game in the country have started preparations for Tanzania to participate in the Youth Olympics that are expected to take place in Senegal in 2026.
Sasa walimu wakishapata mafunzo haya watarudi kwenye shule zao na kuanzisha timu. Wakishapata yale mafunzo, walimu wale watatu kutoka katika kila kanda 6, maana tutakuwa na walimu 18 kutoka walimu 120. Kwa hiyo ukibahatika kuwa katika walimu 18 kati ya 120, maana yake uwezo wako ni mzuri.
The Tanzania Tennis Association (TTA) has said that the president of the International Tennis Federation (ITF) plans to visit Tanzania for a special tour that aims to inspect the infrastructure of the sport as well as meet with national tennis teams.
Tumesha propose baadhi, tumeongelea juzi kidogo BMT kuhusu, tutaomba serikali tutafutie eneo, sisi tutafute raise, tujenge viwanja vyetu.
Sisi kama TTA tuna viwanja, tutaweza kupata viwanja vile vile, tafadhali kupata facility kama TTA, tafadhali vijana wetu kuona na rais, tafadhali kama nchi, tafadhali kwa vitu vingi sana kujua, kwa sababu sio mtu mdogo, anakuja mtu mkubwa Tanzania.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our sport news bulletin for tonight. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.